My favorite Yiddish phrase is my grandpa Max's phrase passed down to me by my Auntie Ida, and I may be screwing it up, but it's a redl tzadredlach, which I've been told means the wheel is always turning. So be nice to everybody you meet on that wheel, because even if you're at the top of the wheel, a redl tzadredlach, and one day you'll be at the bottom, and the guy at the bottom will be at the top. So just be nice to everybody. I got involved in all of this because I hated school. My mother said, why don't you go over to the Young Men's Jewish Council Youth Center on the south side of Chicago, where the next president of the United States is from, and asked me to go into a play. And the first play I did was Anything Goes, where I played a sailor. And the next play I played Billy Bigelow, and I was 15 or 14. I had a paste-on sideburns because I didn't have any facial hair, and I fell in love with it there. No, the first one I did after Anything Goes, the first big part I played was Little Chap in Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. All these at the Youth Center on the south side of Chicago. Then I did Billy Bigelow, and then I had to go to camp. Actually, was this before? It might have been right about the same time. It might have even been before the Youth Center. I went to an all-Hebrew-speaking camp in Buchanan, Michigan called Camp Sura. And it was 1967. Yeah, so it had to be before the Youth Center. And the deal was you had to go take Hebrew classes in the morning, and then you would have camp activities, play, and everything in the afternoon. Well, I was trying to get out of classes. I didn't want to go to the classes. So I found out they were doing a play. And they were doing a play called Fiddler on the Roof. And I cut a deal. I said, if I can play the part, if I can win the part of Tevye and do it all in Hebrew, could I get out of classes? And they said, sure. And so that's how it happened. Yes, Al, I have. Have you? Oh, what, the first or second night? An evening of our own, which one day I hope to create, just like I've made one for Patty and myself. And my next hope is to make one for Bernadette and myself. The privilege of being a part of that story that Stephen and James created, going into that second act where the character of Dot comes out and young George from the next two generations is connected to his heritage and his past, and the moving effect of that connection just overwhelmed me every night, and it overwhelmed me when I saw the revival of it. I just think it is one of the most extraordinary pieces ever written that Stephen and James wrote, and so it was the privilege to be a part of it every single night. Interesting. The recipe that I contributed, which is cheese puffs. I think it's the Philadelphia cheese puffs. Those are my favorite things that my mother made. They couldn't be worse for you. One cheese puff takes off like 6-7 years of your life. Minimum. Well, he's just incredible to work with, and as a human being, he is 100% available. He's humble, modest, wants to know what you think, picks your brain. Occasionally, if you're lucky enough, a few days later, he'll come back and create a song from a conversation that you had together. It is beyond a privilege to be living in his time and getting to work with him. We all wonder, what was it like to be living in Shakespeare's time? And what was it like to be an actor in Shakespeare's company? Well, it was exactly like living in Sondheim's time and to be one of the actors that gets to work with Stephen. He is, in my opinion, every bit an equal to William Shakespeare, and is just right there in the most extraordinary way, and informs my life. His words are the words that I would write if I could write, and the fact that I get to be the mailman for them on an endless variety of occasions is a dream I never even had time to dream. It just happened. And I can't thank God enough for it. I particularly like Stephen's song, Take the Moment. I like Yip Harburg's song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Those are two of my biggest favorites. It was great. They only asked me to stay for a very short time, just 6 weeks. I was supposed to go do something else, and that company just filled my heart. Every night that little girl ran into my arms, I just fell apart every time she ran into my arms. So I stayed a long time, never wanted to leave, and it was a glorious experience. My worst or funniest mishap on stage? Well, I'll tell you what happened. It wasn't a worse or a funny, it wasn't a mishap. It was an almost mishap. I heard this guy snoring unbearably in the audience, and I think it was during Evita, or one of the performances of Evita in 79/80. And it was just annoying the whole audience, and everybody was uncomfortable, and it was just so intrusive. And something in me kept saying, Mandy, just shut up. Just keep on singing. Do not say a word about this. Don't do anything. And afterward, I found out that it was a person on a ventilator. And I was so glad that I didn't say a word. And since then, I've often seen and heard the sound in an audience, and I'm so grateful they're there. I'm always grateful for people that are disabled that get themselves out and come to the theater particularly. So that was a very close call.